All right, let's dive into one of the most stunning houseplants you can possibly own, the bird's nest fern. We're going to break down everything you need to know to keep this beauty happy. So let's get right to it.
So, you just walked through the door with this thing, right? You're looking at those incredible wavy green fronds, and maybe you're feeling a little bit of pressure. You have this perfect-looking plant, and now the job is to keep it that way.
Well, don't even worry about it. You can absolutely do this. And hey, this isn't about just keeping it from dying. We're going to make sure your new fern doesn't just survive, it truly thrives.
Okay, first, let's get properly introduced. You're looking at Asplenium nidus, and you can see where it gets its common name, right? That little center part where the new leaves unfurl, it looks just like a bird's nest. And you gotta remember, it's a tropical plant. Understanding where it comes from is pretty much the secret to everything.
Here is the single most important word you need to know for this plant, epiphyte. See, in the jungle, this fern doesn't grow in the dirt. It actually grows on the side of trees. That means its roots are used to being in the air, and it feeds on things like falling leaves. If you can just lock that one fact into your brain, all the other care tips are going to make perfect sense.
So here's your quick cheat sheet. We'll get into all the details in a second. But notice that difficulty is easy to moderate. All that means is it has a couple of very specific rules. But once you know them, you're golden. And probably the best news on here, it's completely non-toxic, so it's safe to have around your pets.
All right, let's talk about getting this right from the moment it comes into your house. Because where you put this fern and what you plant it in, well, that's the whole foundation for a long, happy life.
I want you to picture this. Dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy of a rainforest. That's the light you're trying to copy. An east-facing window with that gentle morning sun is absolutely perfect. Its worst enemy, its mortal foe, is harsh, direct sun. It will literally burn the leaves. And try to keep the temperature nice and stable. No cold drafts, no blasting heat vents.
And you know, the cool thing is, your fern will talk to you. It'll tell you if the light is wrong. If you see brown, crispy spots, it's basically getting a sunburn, so scoot it back from the window. If it's growing really slowly and the color looks kind of washed out, it's asking for just a little more light.
Now the soil. Since it grows on a tree, we need to give it something really airy and chunky to live in. The peat moss or cocoa coir holds onto a bit of moisture. The perlite keeps things from getting compacted, and the orchid bark, well, that's what makes it feel like it's clinging to a tree. This mix is everything for preventing suffocated, rotten roots.
Okay, I need you to listen really closely right now. If you only remember one single thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. Watering is the #1 secret, and there is one very, very specific rule you have to follow.
And this is it. This is the golden rule. You cannot pour water into the center of the plant. That little nest is super delicate. If water gets trapped in there, it will rot from the inside out. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the #1 way people accidentally killed this beautiful fern.
So what do you do instead? It's simple. You always water the soil around the base of the plant, never the plant itself. Just stick your finger in the soil. If the top inch or so feels dry, it's time for a drink. Do that, and you've just avoided the biggest mistake you can make.
And just like with the light, your fern's going to give you signs. Are the lower leaves turning yellow? Is the center mushy? You're overwatering. Are the fronds looking all sad and droopy with crispy edges? It's thirsty. Just pay attention, and you'll find that perfect balance.
So, you've nailed the location, you've got the soil right, and you know the golden rule of watering. Now we can get into the easy, long-term routines that'll keep your fern happy for years to come.
Remember, this is a tropical plant. It absolutely loves humidity. And let's be honest, your house is probably a lot drier than a rainforest, so you gotta help it out. A humidifier is the best option, for sure. But grouping it with other plants, setting it on a tray of pebbles and water, or just putting it in a humid room like your bathroom, all of those work great.
When it comes to food, bird's nest ferns are not greedy. In the spring and summer, when they're actively growing, you can give them a balanced fertilizer about once a month. But, and this is super important, you have to dilute it to half strength. Their roots are really sensitive, and full-strength fertilizer will burn them.
Pruning? Oh, this is the easiest part. It's totally normal for older, outer fronds to yellow and die back. When they do, just grab some clean scissors and snip them off right at the base. It keeps the plant looking clean and helps it focus its energy on all that beautiful new growth.
You're not going to be repotting this thing all the time. They grow pretty slowly. Every 2 to 3 years is a good schedule. And when you do repot, only go up by 1 or 2 inches in pot diameter. If the pot's too big, the soil stays wet for too long, and that puts you right back in root rot territory. Okay, last section. Let's do some quick-fire troubleshooting.
Think of this as learning to speak fern, so you can give it what it needs when it's trying to tell you something's wrong.
You see this? This is probably the most common question people have about these ferns. The fronds are beautiful, but the very tips are brown and crispy. What is it trying to say?
9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, it means the air is too dry. It is literally thirsty for humidity. So just go back to those tricks we talked about, misting, a pebble tray, a humidifier, and the new growth should come in perfectly.
All right, now for the really serious one. You look down into the center, into the nest, and you see a mushy, brown, rotting core. What on earth happened?
It's crown rot, and it means the golden rule was broken. Water sat in that central rosette, and it started to decay. This is really hard to come back from, which is why that rule is so important. Just remember, always, always water the soil.
And let's just end on this one thought. In the wild, this fern literally catches falling leaves and junk in its nest, and it turns that mess into food. It's an expert at taking whatever the world throws at it and creating its own strength. It's a pretty amazing idea, and definitely something to think about the next time you're admiring your fern.